Japan is full of ideas that seem completely insane at first, until you realize how perfectly they actually work. The country has mastered the art of solving everyday problems with systems so smart and efficient that they instantly make other places feel outdated. From tiny inventions to citywide innovations, Japan constantly creates things that save time, reduce stress, and make daily life smoother in ways most people never even think about. 1. Parking lots that stack cars like giant vending machines. In crowded Japanese cities where land is extremely expensive, normal parking lots would waste huge amounts of space. To solve this, Japan created automated parking towers that stack cars vertically using robotic systems. Drivers leave their car on a platform, and machines automatically lift and store it inside the building. When the driver returns, the system brings the car back within minutes. These towers save enormous amounts of space while also protecting vehicles from theft and weather damage. It feels futuristic, but in Japan, this kind of smart engineering has already become completely normal. 2. Heated tables. People sit under. During winter, Japan created a genius invention called the kotatsu, which is basically a heated table covered with a blanket. Families sit around it during winter with their legs underneath the warm blanket while eating, relaxing, or watching TV. Instead of heating an entire house constantly, the kotatsu keeps people warm in a far more energy-efficient way. It may sound simple, but it perfectly fits Japan's smaller homes and practical mindset. Once people experience it, many wonder why cold countries everywhere do not already use something similar inside their homes. 3. Fake food displays outside restaurants. Many Japanese restaurants display incredibly realistic plastic versions of their meals outside the building. These fake food models show customers exactly what the dishes look like before ordering. This is especially useful for tourists who cannot read Japanese menus because they can simply point at the item they want. The displays are often so detailed that people mistake them for real food. Japan turned restaurant advertising into something practical, artistic, and helpful at the same time. It solves confusion instantly, while also making streets look colorful and visually interesting. 4. Streets without loud car horns everywhere. One thing many visitors notice in Japan is how surprisingly quiet the streets feel even in massive cities. Drivers rarely use car horns aggressively because there is a strong culture of patience and public respect. Traffic systems are also highly organized, reducing road rage and unnecessary noise. The result is cities that feel calmer and less stressful despite having millions of people moving around constantly. Japan proves that good city design and social behavior can dramatically change how a place feels emotionally, even without expensive futuristic technology everywhere. 5. Forest bathing, the medical treatment Japan found in the woods. In 1982, Japan's Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries coined the term Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing. It means taking in the forest atmosphere, walking slowly through woodland, breathing, observing. No fitness target, no distance goal. Presence itself is the activity. Japan funded the science. Researchers measured cortisol levels, blood pressure, heart rate, and immune markers in participants who walked in forests versus urban environments. The results were consistent enough that Shinrin-yoku is now formally recognized as a medical practice, with certified forest therapy trails, trained guides, and medical referrals issued by physicians.
To medicines and expensive therapies to get relief from symptoms. Only a few spend time.
6. Squeezable ice cream pouches. Eating without managing traditional ice cream delivery. The cone, the cup, the bar shares one structural problem. As the ice cream melts, the experience deteriorates. The cone softens. The bar drips. The cup requires a spoon. All of them impose a consumption pace determined by temperature rather than appetite. Japan's squeezable ice cream pouch, a sealed flexible tube of soft-serve ice cream squeezed upward from the base like a toothpaste tube, changes the dynamic completely. The sealed format stops dripping entirely. The squeeze mechanism delivers ice cream at your pace rather than gravity's. The tube can be partially consumed and set aside. No cone to structurally manage. No spoon. No mess of any kind. Children work out the format in seconds. Adults encountering it for the first time tend to pause mid-squeeze and think about why this isn't the default format everywhere. The tube doesn't change the flavor. It makes the experience function the way it always should have functioned. Japan has a specific habit of noticing when something almost works and correcting the part that doesn't. 7. Disposable emergency underwear, sold in convenience stores and vending machines across Japan. Compact, single-use underwear in a sealed foil pouch the size of a sugar packet. The target customer is the person who missed the last train and stayed at a friend's unexpectedly, or spent the night at the office during a project crunch, or had a travel bag lost at the airport, or just needs to change after a long outdoor event. Japan recognized that emergencies are not always dramatic. Sometimes they are just logistical inconveniences that make the next morning deeply uncomfortable, and it planned for that with the same seriousness it plans for earthquakes. The product exists because in Japan, anticipating a problem is always preferable to tolerating it. 8. The rice cooker that does more than cook rice. We're gonna make it easy for you. This might appear to be very simple. It's not. The contemporary Japanese fuzzy logic rice cooker, created by companies such as Zojirushi and Panasonic since the 1980s, is much more than a water heater. This is an example of early AI incorporated into the domestic appliance. The fuzzy logic system constantly evaluates moisture level, temperature changes, and the type of rice being cooked, and modifies the cooking time, temperature, and steam pressure correspondingly during cooking. There are versions with adjustable pressure levels, several rice programs, and even slow cook options rivaling commercial kitchen equipment. 9. Inamuri. The country that decided sleeping at work signals. Dedication. In most professional cultures, falling asleep in a meeting marks you as disengaged or unprepared. In Japan, the practice, called inamuri, meaning sleeping while present, carries the opposite social reading. A person who falls asleep at their desk is understood to be exhausted by their commitment. The sleep is evidence of effort. Social rules apply. The sleep should be brief, the posture should suggest readiness to wake, head down on folded arms rather than sprawled across a chair. The person remains technically present and able to return to engagement quickly. Managers, in most contexts, do not wake the sleeping employee. What Japan formalized is an acknowledgement that humans have a sleep need that doesn't schedule itself conveniently around the workday, and that suppressing it entirely produces worse outcomes than accommodating it briefly. 10. The underground flood tunnel. Tokyo built a cathedral below the city. The metropolitan area, outer underground discharge channel, known locally as the Gaikaku Husuiro, is the world's largest underground floodwater management facility, and photographs of its interior look like concept art for a dystopian film. Located in Kasukabe, north of Tokyo, it consists of 5 concrete silos 65 meters deep, each wide enough to contain the Statue of Liberty standing upright, connected by nearly 7 kilometers of tunnel 6 meters in diameter. When rivers in the greater Tokyo area rise dangerously during typhoon season or heavy rainfall, floodwater is diverted into the silos, travels through the tunnels, collects in the cistern, and is pumped out into the Edogawa River at a rate of 200 tons per second. The facility is open for public tours. People walk the cistern's pillared hall in small groups, beneath a ceiling that is the floor of a suburb, next to the machinery that quietly keeps millions of people from watching their homes fill with water. 11. The optical fiber internet speed record. Japan sent data at 402 terabits per second. In 2024, researchers at Japan's National Institute of Information and Communications Technology set a new world record for data transmission over optical fiber, 402 terabits per second, over a distance of 50 kilometers. The record was achieved using standard diameter fiber optic cable, the kind already embedded in existing telecommunications infrastructure, by transmitting data across a vastly expanded spectrum of light wavelengths using multiple spatial modes within the same fiber simultaneously, with signal processing that extracted usable data from all of them in parallel. The practical implication isn't just speed. It means the physical cables already in the ground could potentially carry exponentially more data than they currently carry, without replacement. The internet's capacity isn't limited by the glass. It's limited by what you can do with the light passing through it. 12. Square watermelons. Refrigeration solved by geometry. In the 1970s, a farmer in Kagawa Prefecture asked one question: why are watermelons round? The answer, because that's how they grow, led immediately to a second question: does it have to be? He built square wooden molds, placed developing fruit inside them early in the growth stage, and let the watermelon grow to fill the available space. The result: flat faces, right angles, a geometry that stacks and stores like any other box. A round watermelon cannot be stacked without supports. A square one stacks directly. A round watermelon rolls. A square one does not. A round watermelon occupies irregular refrigerator space. A square one fits into corners. The shape does not change the flavor. 13. Coin holder. Organizers. Japanese coin holders. A small spring-loaded organizer carried in the pocket or clipped to a wallet. Sort coins by denomination into individual rows. To pay an exact amount, you see immediately which row you need, press the release, and the correct coin presents itself. You do not fish. The alternative is the standard coin pouch, all denominations together, retrieved by feel or sight while a queue forms behind you. The organizer eliminates that entirely. Visual inventory at a glance. Exact payment without delay. Japan's high cash culture meant coin management presented itself at sufficient frequency to generate a proper solution. 14. Food packaging that must match the actual product. Japan has informally but powerfully enforced commercial norms around packaging accuracy. The product shown on the outside of a package must represent, with reasonable fidelity, the product inside. This is not purely regulatory. It is a cultural expectation with real commercial consequences when violated. The result: Japanese food packaging images are, by the standards of most other markets, extraordinarily accurate. The ramen on the box looks like the ramen you cook. The biscuit on the wrapper resembles the biscuit inside. The packaging is styled, but not constructed from a different quantity or quality of food than what's being sold. 15. Erasable ink pen with thermosensitive ink. The Pilot Friction pen uses ink that becomes colorless when exposed to friction-generated heat. You rub the tip of the pen's eraser end over your mistake, and the ink disappears, cleanly, completely, with no smudging or white residue. The ink returns if exposed to freezing temperatures, which means if you need to recover erased text, you can put the paper in a freezer and read it again. It works on paper, in planners, on certain fabrics, and on whiteboards. Japan gave the ballpoint pen a built-in undo button. The Friction is now one of the best-selling pen lines in the world because it solved a problem every single person who has ever used a pen has experienced. Japan didn't invent a new writing instrument. It just fixed the one we already had.
Actually started to wear through the rubber. I've been using this pen so much.
16. Stick format butter applicator. Japan sells butter shaped and packaged like a glue stick. You twist the base, the butter rises, and you swipe it evenly across your toast. Clean hands, perfect coverage, no crumbled bread, no knife required, no butter scraped unevenly because it came straight from the fridge. The packaging keeps it fresh, and the format makes it portable. The product is so obvious that the main reaction when people outside Japan encounter it is bafflement that it doesn't exist everywhere already, which is the sign of a truly good idea. Not that it's complicated, but that it's so clearly correct that its absence everywhere else becomes the strange thing. #17. The blue LED, the invention that made modern lighting possible. For decades, LED technology was stuck. Red LEDs existed from the 1960s. Green LEDs followed. But without blue, there was no white light. And without white light, LEDs were novelties rather than a viable replacement for conventional lighting. The physics of producing blue light from semiconductors was considered so difficult that for most of the 20th century, the scientific consensus was that efficient blue LEDs were essentially impossible to create commercially. Shuji Nakamura, working at Nichia Corporation, a relatively small Japanese chemical company, disagreed. He solved the problem in 1993 using gallium nitride. The result, practical white LED lighting became achievable. Efficient, long-lasting, low-energy illumination at every scale from a phone screen to an industrial stadium. Nakamura, along with Isamu Akasaki and Hiroshi Amano, was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2014. The award citation described their work as bringing light to billions. That is not hyperbole. 18. Non-stick yogurt lids, the lid that actually lets go. The standard yogurt lid has a failure mode so consistent it's generated its own cultural response. The peel that releases a spray of yogurt across your shirt, your hand, and anything nearby. The adhesive seal, the surface tension of the product underneath, and the pull angle combine to make the first centimeter of opening the highest risk moment of breakfast. Japanese food brands produce yogurt with lids treated with a non-stick interior coating, a smooth silicone-based film, so that the product releases from the foil cleanly on peeling. The yogurt does not adhere to the lid. The peel is clean. No spray. 19. High-performance stain removers. Japan's laundry is a different category. Japan's laundry products are, without particular announcement, technically advanced beyond what most comparable markets sell. Products like Attack Zero from Kao Corporation use a dual-ingredient technology combining surfactants and enzymes to break down stains at a molecular level across a wider range of temperatures and fiber types than standard detergents achieve. The Japanese laundry market is intensely competitive, which drives formulation investment that doesn't exist elsewhere. The result is detergents that genuinely perform differently, removing dried protein stains, set pigment stains, and oil compounds in a single standard wash cycle without pre-treatment. Japan has better laundry detergent because the Japanese laundry market demanded better laundry. Detergent and the chemistry existed to supply it. The improvement was available all along. Most of the world hasn't been offered it because the market never required it to be developed. 20. Wheelchair convertible escalator platform. In Japan, many public escalators have folding platforms built into specific steps. When a wheelchair user arrives, a staff member unlocks the mechanism and adjacent steps flatten into a level surface. The escalator keeps moving. The wheelchair rolls on, rides up, and exits without a lift, detour, or wait. Most countries rely on elevators, often distant or out of order. Japan built accessibility into the infrastructure already in use, making the main route accessible. The difference is philosophy. One adds accessibility later, the other designs for it from the start. 21. Trust-based retail with no anti-theft tethers. Walk into a Japanese electronics store and pick up a laptop. No security cable attached. Open it. Try the keyboard. Take it to the window to check the screen in natural light. Nobody follows you. No alarm triggers. In many bookstores, you can read an entire chapter of a book you haven't bought. In stationery shops, every pen is available to test freely. Japan's retail operates on trust as a default because crime rates are low enough that the cost of security theater exceeds the cost of occasional theft. The result is a shopping experience where you are treated as a person making a decision, not a suspect under surveillance. The contrast for anyone arriving from most Western cities is immediate and disorienting. It feels, unexpectedly, like respect.
Unfortunately, I didn't see a sign that says that they are tax-free for tourists, but maybe when you visit, you can ask.
22. The maglev train. They broke the land speed record for a train. In April 2015, a Japanese S-maglev train operated by JR Central reached 603 kilometers per hour on a test track in Yamanashi Prefecture. That is the fastest any rail vehicle has ever traveled anywhere on Earth, and the record still stands. The technology uses superconducting magnets to levitate the train completely above the track. No contact, no friction, no mechanical limitation on speed beyond what the infrastructure and physics allow. At cruising speed, the train floats approximately 10 centimeters above the guideway. The Chuo Shinkansen line using this technology is currently under construction to connect Tokyo and Nagoya. The planned journey time? 40 minutes. Currently by Shinkansen, that takes roughly 90 minutes. Tokyo to Nagoya, the distance between two of Japan's largest cities, in 40 minutes. 23. The drone umbrella. They solved rain with a helicopter. Asahi Power Services developed a product in the late 2000s that uses a drone to follow a person through the rain, hovering overhead and acting as an autonomous umbrella. The system uses AI to track the user's position and maintain a consistent overhead distance. This exists. It is not a prototype in the conceptual stage. It is a product with a working demonstration. The drone stays positioned directly above its user, adjusting for speed and direction changes without being told, shields them from precipitation, and does all of this without requiring the user to hold, carry, or think about an umbrella at all. Someone in Japan looked at the problem of rain and concluded the correct solution was a flying robot. 24. The Capsule Hotel. They solved sleep like an engineering problem. Architect Kisho Kurokawa designed the first capsule hotel in Osaka in 1979, drawing on the modular, interchangeable unit philosophy of his metabolism architectural movement. The concept: each sleeping unit would be exactly what was needed for sleep, nothing more, nothing less, manufactured to precision and stacked like components in a machine. The original capsule in Osaka provided each guest with a molded fiberglass pod containing a mattress, lighting controls, ventilation, a small television, and an alarm. The dimensions were calibrated for function, not comfort in the traditional sense. This was comfort engineered rather than comfort approximated. What the capsule hotel solved was a specific problem unique to Japan's urban density: the business traveler or commuter who missed the last train and needed safe, clean, affordable sleep within walking distance of a major station. It solved it completely. 25. Bottom fill beer machines. The glass that fills itself from below. At certain Japanese bars, a glass of beer is placed on a pressurized dispenser platform. Beer enters through a valve at the base of the glass, pushed upward from below rather than poured from above. As it rises, foam forms naturally at the top where it belongs, and the glass is lifted fully poured when complete. The base valve self-sealing on removal. The bottom upfill eliminates the primary source of overfoaming, the turbulence created when beer falls into a glass from height. The result is a consistently higher liquid-to-foam ratio. Japan, a country with genuine standards for how beer arrives at the table, applied engineering to the moment of the pour itself. The glass fills from the bottom. The physics are simply better. The beer is better because the physics are. 26. Maternity badges. The mark that makes invisible needs. Visible. Early pregnancy is when nausea, fatigue, and physiological demands are most acute. It is also when the pregnancy is not yet visibly apparent. A woman in her 8th week looks identical to any other passenger on a crowded train. She cannot communicate her need for a seat without announcing her medical condition to strangers. Japan introduced the maternity mark, a small pink badge displaying a pregnant figure distributed through local government offices and prenatal clinics that a woman attaches to her bag. Train passengers who see it understand its meaning. A seat is offered. The badge converts a private medical condition into a legible social signal without requiring verbal disclosure. 27. Self-heating meal containers. Pull a cord at the bottom of the container, set it down, wait 4 minutes, and the meal inside is hot. No microwave, no stove, no electricity, no open flame. A chemical reaction between calcium oxide and water generates enough heat to bring a full meal to serving temperature in under 5 minutes. And the container stays sealed until you open it yourself. Japan developed this technology decades ago, and it is now embedded in convenience store culture, disaster preparedness kits, military rations, and outdoor recreation. The idea that a hot meal requires infrastructure, a kitchen, power, equipment, is a limitation Japan simply chose to engineer around. Every time there's a natural disaster and rescue teams need to feed thousands of displaced people with no access to utilities, this technology is there. '28. New driver identification and legal courtesy system. In Japan, new drivers are legally required to display the Shoshinsha mark, a green and yellow leaf symbol, on their vehicle for 1 full year after obtaining a license. That's not the genius part. The genius part is what the law says about everyone else. Other drivers are legally prohibited from cutting off, tailgating, or intimidating any car displaying that badge. Doing so is a traffic violation with real consequences. Japan created a formal, legally enforced protection system for the most vulnerable people on the road at their most vulnerable time. First-year drivers get a legal shield against the most experienced and impatient drivers. No other country on Earth has codified road courtesy into law quite like this. 29. The 7-minute miracle. Shinkansen cleaning crews. Between each Shinkansen journey, a crew called the Tessei boards the moment passengers disembark. In exactly 7 minutes, they clean and reset an entire 16-car train. Every seat rotated to face the direction of travel, headrest covers replaced, floors vacuumed, windows wiped, tables cleaned, overhead racks checked, all rubbish removed. Then they line up on the platform, bow to the next group of waiting passengers, and depart. The following journey boards. The Tessei process has been studied by management researchers worldwide. It is a masterclass in coordinated choreography. Each crew member has a specific zone, a specific sequence, and a strict time limit, operating as one synchronized action. What the Shinkansen platform demonstrates is that cleanliness and speed are not in opposition if the process is designed correctly. 7 minutes, 16 cars. Ready for 400 passengers. The bow at the end says something important about what Japan believes the work is worth. 30. Asimo, the humanoid robot that walked before anyone else did. Honda's Asimo, advanced step in innovative mobility, was introduced in 2000 as the culmination of 14 years of Honda research into bipedal locomotion. It was the first humanoid robot capable of walking in a stable, continuous manner that genuinely resembled how a human being moves. Asimo could walk, run, climb stairs, carry objects, pour a drink, and recognize faces and voices. By 2005, it could run at 9 kilometers per hour. In subsequent iterations, it could hop on 1 foot, kick a ball, and adapt its gait in real time to changing terrain. What Asimo represented wasn't just engineering achievement, it was proof of concept for an entire category of machine, the bipedal service robot, that entire industries now take as given. Every humanoid robot under development today exists in a lineage that runs through Asimo. Honda discontinued Asimo in 2022, describing it as having served its purpose, to advance the foundational research now embedded in other programs. It walked so the rest of the field could run. 31. Fully emptying sauce packets. The crease that wastes nothing. Single-serve condiment packets have a design failure universally accepted everywhere. The contents adhere to the interior walls and don't fully dispense. You empty what you can, and the rest stays behind. At national scale, this is a significant quantity of food that was manufactured, packaged, and transported but never consumed. Japanese condiment packaging, particularly from brands like Kewpie, incorporates interior crease lines pressed into the packet during manufacture. These creases direct contents toward the opening when pressure is applied, ensuring the full contents dispense in a single squeeze without residue. The packet empties completely. This is not a technological solution. It is a geometric one. 32. Anonymous service window for socially anxious workers. Some Japanese city offices and public service centers have introduced a service window where the staff member sits completely behind a partition. Only a small slot for paperwork passes through. No eye contact. No face-to-face interaction. The transaction happens through the gap. This was designed specifically for employees who experience debilitating social anxiety, people who are fully capable of doing the job but find direct customer interaction genuinely overwhelming. Japan's response wasn't to tell them to push through it. It was to redesign the workstation so the job could be done without the element that made it impossible. That is inclusion built into architecture, not a policy statement, not a helpline. An actual physical solution embedded in the structure of the building. 33. Electric spoon that enhances salt taste perception. This sounds like a joke project. It is not. Researchers at Meiji University developed a spoon that sends a precise, imperceptible electrical current through food as you eat.
You have to first turn the electric salt spoon on, and then you pick the level of saltiness you want.
It stimulates taste receptors, amplifying saltiness by up to 1.5 times without adding sodium. The device is commercialized, aimed at patients on low sodium diets with hypertension, kidney, or heart conditions. But the implications go further. What if food tasted saltier with less sodium? What if people reduced intake without changing habits? Japan didn't reduce salt. It changed how salt is perceived.
To concentrate the sodium-ion molecules on the tongue. This enhances the perceived saltiness of the food.
34. Tactile notch. Labeling for blind product identification. Japan's industrial standards require shampoo bottles to have a small raised notch or ridged strip on the cap or body of the bottle, while conditioner bottles remain smooth. The difference is detectable by touch alone. A blind or visually impaired person can correctly identify which bottle is which every single time, in the shower, in complete darkness, without reading a label or asking anyone. This is a legal standard. Not an optional accessibility feature, not a voluntary commitment, a requirement applied across the entire industry so that every bottle in every shop conforms to the same system. Japan made accessibility mandatory and then made it invisible, which is exactly what good design is supposed to do. 35. The Shinkansen. When the Shinkansen launched on October 1st, 1964, deliberately timed to coincide with the opening of the Tokyo Olympics, it reduced the journey between Tokyo and Osaka from over 6 hours to 4. It was the world's first high-speed rail service, traveling at speeds no passenger train had ever commercially achieved. It hasn't had a single fatality due to a derailment or collision in over 60 years of operation. The average delay across all Shinkansen lines is measured in single-digit seconds per year. Not minutes, seconds, and almost universally found lacking. When countries build high-speed rail, they send delegations to Japan to study it. When other systems fail or run late, their passengers ask why it can't be more like Japan. The Shinkansen didn't just build a fast train, it built the standard. 36. Bread bags that show how many slices are left. Japanese bread packaging from major bakery brands uses a transparent strip along the side of the bag, or printed count indicators on the exterior, letting you assess remaining slices before opening. You know how much bread is in the bag before you commit to using it. The problem is invisible in countries where it hasn't been solved. You take a bag from the cupboard, don't know if there are 2 slices or 7, open it, and find out only after the fact. The Japanese solution provides that information up front. You look, you decide, then you open or you don't. This matters most in meal planning, knowing before you start whether you have enough, whether a bakery trip is necessary. 37. Disposable gloves at petrol stations, fuel without the smell. At self-service petrol stations throughout Japan, a dispenser of thin, disposable plastic gloves sits beside every pump. You take a pair. You fill your tank. You dispose of the gloves in a bin on the island. Your hands have not contacted petrol or the pump handle. No fuel smell transfers to your car's interior. No residue lingers under your fingernails for the rest of the day. This is a problem every person who fills a car has experienced and solved inadequately. A tissue, an old receipt, trying to angle the grip. The Japanese solution is one pair of gloves per fill and a dispenser that replenishes them. 38. Underground pedestrian city networks. Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya. Beneath these cities lies an entirely separate city. Climate-controlled underground networks connect stations, offices, shopping, and housing through kilometers of passageways lined with shops and services. Tokyo's network alone has over 200 exits. Rain doesn't touch you. Heat doesn't reach you. Snow is irrelevant. You can commute, run errands, eat, and arrive without stepping outside. The experience is seamless because it was designed for pedestrians, not cars. Japan built a second city beneath the first, not a tunnel, a city. 39. Instant ID photo, vending booths, passport photo, resume photo, student ID driver's license renewal. Japan has solved every one of these with a street-level photo booth on practically every urban block. You step inside, select your required format from a menu, adjust your position using the on-screen guide, and the machine takes and prints professional-quality laminated photos in under 2 minutes. No appointment, no photographer, no sending files to a printing service and waiting 3 days. 2 minutes, a few coins, and you leave with exactly what you need. Japan turned a bureaucratic errand that wastes half a morning in most countries into a 2-minute vending machine transaction. Once you've used one, going back to booking a photographer for a passport photo feels genuinely absurd.
Before shooting, read the instruction on the screen carefully to ensure the best shooting conditions.
40. Tactile floor. Strips for the visually impaired. Bright yellow tactile strips are embedded in floors and pavements across train stations, public buildings, and streets in Japan. They guide visually impaired pedestrians from entrance to platform to exit without assistance. Lines lead. Dots mean stop. The system is consistent, nationwide, and standardized. Japan introduced this in 1967, the first country to do so, and refined it over decades until it covers nearly every public space. Today, it is an international standard. Japan looked at a population once dependent on help and built independence directly into the ground beneath their feet. 41. The QR code. In 1994, an engineer named Masahiro Hara at Denso Wave, a Toyota subsidiary, was frustrated with barcodes. Standard barcodes stored around 20 characters. Car manufacturing required tracking thousands of components simultaneously, each with complex data attached, and barcodes simply couldn't hold enough information. Hara's solution was two-dimensional. By distributing data both horizontally and vertically in a square matrix with error correction built in so the code remained readable even if partially damaged, he could store roughly 350 times more information than a traditional barcode. 30 years later, QR codes are on restaurant menus, currency, boarding passes, vaccines, construction sites, museum exhibits, product packaging, and gravestones. Billions are scanned daily. An engineer trying to sort out car parts, and he built the connective tissue of the physical to digital world. 42. Projection mapping. Makeup. Shiseido and other Japanese beauty technology companies have developed real-time facial projection mapping systems that apply virtual makeup directly to a moving human face. Not on a screen overlay, not filtered through a camera app, but physically projected onto skin, tracking the face in 3 dimensions as it moves. The technology uses high-speed cameras and projection systems that update faster than the human eye can detect. Turn your head, blink, speak. The projected makeup tracks every movement and maintains precise registration on the facial surface. The system allows someone to try hundreds of different makeup configurations, foundation shades, lip colors, eye looks, full face transformations, in real time, in a physical store, without touching their actual face once. The decision gets made based on what they actually look like wearing it, not what a filter approximates. This was demonstrated commercially at CES 2025 and received an Innovation Award. The cosmetics industry globally is currently processing what this means for their retail model. 43. Smart toilet with passive health diagnostics. Japan's smart toilets, now common in millions of homes, have crossed into science fiction. Built-in sensors analyze urine in real time, detecting glucose, blood, and protein without user action. Results logged to a health app. No sample, no test, no button. Researchers are pushing this toward early cancer detection and continuous monitoring. A device you already use runs passive diagnostics daily. The rest of the world debates hand dryers. Japan turned the toilet into a medical device with a heated seat. 44. Orange juice served inside a real orange. At fruit stalls and fresh juice stands across Japan, particularly in markets and tourist precincts. Orange juice arrives not in a cup or a glass, but inside a fresh orange. The top is cut away, a small juicing mechanism is inserted directly into the fruit, and a straw follows. You drink the juice from the orange that produced it. The fruit is simultaneously the source and the container. The orange rind holds the juice naturally cold. The presentation stops people mid-step. The juice is as fresh as physically possible because it was extracted moments ago from the vessel currently in your hand. No cup, no ice diluting it, no question about freshness. Japan understands that the container is part of the experience, not incidentally, but fundamentally. An orange served in a cup is a juice product. An orange served in an orange is a moment. The difference in preparation is 3 seconds and the correct placement of a straw. 45. Regional Kit Kat flavors. A chocolate bar reimagined as a souvenir system. Japan produces over 300 regional and limited edition Kit Kat varieties, many exclusive to specific prefectures and sold only through local shops and train station kiosks. Shizuoka gets wasabi. Hokkaido gets melon and cream cheese. Kyoto gets matcha. Okinawa gets purple sweet potato. The name Kit Kat in Japanese sounds close to Kito Katsu. You will surely win, making it a culturally embedded gift for students before examinations. Nestlé Japan developed this system in collaboration with regional governments and local ingredient suppliers, transforming a standardized global product into a hyper-local collectible that functions simultaneously as a gift, a souvenir, and a regional cultural artifact. Japan took a globally commoditized confectionery format and made it express local specificity so precisely that people travel to find the right flavor. That is not a marketing campaign. That is a fundamental redesign of what a chocolate bar can be. 46. Holographic displays. Researchers at the University of Tokyo have developed holographic display technology that produces full-color, 3-dimensional images viewable without glasses or headsets, floating in open air with genuine parallax, meaning the image looks different from different viewing angles the way a real object would. The technology uses optimized diffraction calculations applied to ordinary display hardware, including methods adaptable to smartphones to create computer-generated holograms that produce the perception of depth and volume without any intermediary device between the image and the viewer's eyes. In 2024, the team published work on full-color methods that made consumer-grade holographic rendering significantly more accessible. The timeline to a holographic display you could own and use in an ordinary room shortened noticeably with that paper. The dream most people have of a device projecting images into empty space that look physically present is not science fiction in Japan. It is a research paper with a university affiliation and a publication date. 47. The Luge earthquake-resistant building. Tech, floating on shock absorbers. Japan sits on 4 tectonic plates simultaneously. The country experiences approximately 1,500 earthquakes per year that humans can feel, and many more they cannot. This has produced the most sophisticated seismic engineering culture on Earth. The most advanced contemporary system is seismic isolation, the physical separation of a building's structure from the ground beneath it. Large rubber bearings and lead dampers are installed at the building's base, decoupling the structure from the Earth's motion. When the ground shakes, the building does not move with it. The isolation system absorbs and dissipates the energy. Buildings using this technology in major earthquakes have moved less than 10 centimeters, while surrounding buildings moved by meters. Hospitals have remained operational during events that leveled structures built to conventional standards. Schools have continued running. A Japanese startup has recently developed a sprayable earthquake-resistant coating that reinforces existing structures without full retrofitting, allowing older buildings to benefit from seismic protection without demolition. Japan keeps solving this problem from new angles because it cannot afford to stop solving it. 48. Bicycle escalator channel for uphill transport. In Matsuyama and several other hilly Japanese cities, public escalators built into steep streets include a narrow grooved channel alongside the steps. You place your bicycle's rear wheel into the channel, press a button, and a motorized track carries both you and your bike smoothly up the hill. No dismounting, no lifting, no arriving at the top sweating through your shirt. It takes about 90 seconds. It is completely free, and it's been operating since the 1990s. Japan noticed that hills discourage cycling, that cycling reduces traffic, and that the solution was a 90-second automated track. The math was easy. The execution took vision. 49. Fresh meal vending machines. Japan has more vending machines per capita than any country on Earth, approximately 1 for every 23 people, and they are not selling chips and soda. Hot ramen, warm bento boxes, fresh rice bowls, sandwiches made that morning, hot pizza slices, chilled sushi, restocked multiple times daily, available 24 hours, no human staff, no wait. Japan took the concept of a vending machine, something the rest of the world decided was suitable only for snacks, and made it capable of delivering a full, freshly prepared meal at 2 in the morning in the middle of a train station. The infrastructure investment is enormous. The cultural payoff is that nobody in Japan goes hungry because it's late and nothing is open. '50. Two-way orientation. Slippers. Sometimes genius isn't enormous. Sometimes it's a foam slipper. Hospital and hotel slippers in Japan are designed to be worn either direction. No left foot, no right. You pick them up, put them on, they work. Other countries give you left and right. You fumble in the dark, put one on backwards, shuffle around at 3 in the morning. 51. The Walkman. Before 1979, music was communal. You listened in a room, at a concert, or on a radio. The idea of wrapping music around yourself personally, privately, as you moved through the world. That wasn't a thing. Then Masaru Ibuka, co-founder of Sony, wanted a device to listen to classical music during his long international flights. Sony engineer Nobutoshi Kihara built him one. Akio Morita saw it and said they should sell it. The Walkman TPSL-2 launched on July 1st, 1979. It had no recording function, just playback. People said it wouldn't sell. Why would someone want a tape player with no recording? The Walkman didn't just sell a product, it changed how humans relate to sound in public space. The person who walks down a street with headphones in, that's a behavior the Walkman invented from scratch. 52. The HAL exoskeleton. Cyberdyne, the actual Japanese robotics company, not the fictional one, developed the Hybrid Assistive Limb, or HAL, at the University of Tsukuba. It became the world's first powered exoskeleton to receive global safety certification and the first to be certified as a medical treatment device in Europe. For patients with spinal cord injuries, neurological disorders, or stroke damage, this means HAL can create a feedback loop between the brain and the limbs that the injury had broken. Repeated use has been shown to reinforce neural pathways and restore function that patients were told was permanently lost. It also can increase the physical strength of a healthy user by a factor of 10. The same device that helps a stroke patient walk is the foundation of a powered exoskeleton that lets a construction worker carry loads no human body was designed to manage. 53. Color-changing egg boiling indicator. A small silicone disc you drop into the pot with your eggs. It starts red and gradually shifts to white as water temperature rises and time passes, signaling soft-boiled, medium, or hard with color bands. No timer to set. No egg to cut open in disappointment. No guessing. The disc is reusable, dishwasher safe, and costs less than a cup of coffee. Japan decided that boiling an egg to the correct doneness should not require skill, experience, or memory. It should be visible at a glance. That's it. That's the entire product philosophy. Take something that routinely goes wrong for people, make the correct outcome readable without any knowledge or attention required, and sell it for almost nothing.
I'm starting to see a white line appear on the borders, and it's just been a minute or so.
54. The asteroid sample. Return, Japan went to space and brought something back. In 2010, the JAXA spacecraft Hayabusa became the first mission in history to land on an asteroid, collect surface material, and return it to Earth. The asteroid was Itokawa. The spacecraft had already survived a fuel leak, a communications blackout, and a failed first collection attempt. On the second attempt, it fired a small bullet into the asteroid surface, collected the ejecta, sealed it, and then traveled 4 billion kilometers back to Earth. The return capsule landed in the Australian outback in June 2010. It contained approximately 1,500 particles of asteroid material, the first extraterrestrial solid samples collected from a known body beyond the moon. In 2020, Hayabusa 2 improved on every element of that mission. It landed on a different asteroid, Ryugu. It detonated a small explosive to create a crater and collect subsurface material untouched by solar radiation, pristine matter from the early solar system. It returned over 5 grams of material, a yield far exceeding expectations, and landed its return capsule in Australia with extraordinary precision. Those samples are currently being analyzed by researchers worldwide. They contain organic molecules and water-bearing minerals from the formation of the solar system 4.5 billion years ago. Japan went out and got pieces of how everything began. 55. Panasonic's deodorizing hanger. Nanoscale particles for your suit. This one sounds almost mundane until you understand the engineering underneath it. Panasonic's deodorizing clothes hanger uses what the company calls Nano-EX technology. Nano-sized atomized water particles, each one 1 billionth of a meter in scale, generated from humidity in the surrounding air. These particles penetrate fabric at the molecular level and break down odor-causing compounds on contact. The hanger doesn't mask smell. It doesn't use chemicals or fragrance. It uses physics to dismantle odor molecules in clothing that can't easily be washed, suits, cashmere, leather, and does it quietly on a clothes rack over a 5 to 7 hour cycle. The same underlying Nano-EX technology appears in Panasonic air purifiers, hair dryers, and HVAC systems across Japan. They built a deodorizing hanger as a consumer product because the technology was small enough and the application was obvious. That's the casual frequency with which Japan applies nanotechnology to everyday objects. 56. Gachapon, the art form, hiding inside a vending machine. Gachapon, the Japanese capsule toy vending machine, operates on a mechanism anyone can understand. Insert a coin, turn a handle, receive a plastic capsule containing a miniature object from a numbered series. That is the surface. What Japan built underneath it is something else entirely. Japanese gachapon manufacturers, Bandai, Kyoto, Takara Tomy Arts, produce capsule series with the material and design quality of display collectibles. Anatomically detailed marine biology sets. The format became a vehicle for serious design entirely because Japan decided that the low price point, the randomness of outcome, and the miniature scale were interesting constraints rather than limiting ones. What do you make when it must be beautiful, fit in a capsule, and cost under $5? Japan has answered that question tens of thousands of times. A significant proportion of the answers are extraordinary. 57. The emoji. Shigetaka Kurita created the first 176 emojis in 1999 while working at NTT Docomo, Japan's mobile internet pioneer. He was working within a brutally limited technical constraint. Each image had to fit in a 12 by 12 pixel grid, and he needed to create a visual vocabulary that could convey emotion, weather, places, and activity without words. The original 176 are in the permanent collection of the Museum of Modern Art in New York. 58. Micro apartments with smart space design. Tokyo's housing market has produced apartments smaller than most Western walk-in wardrobes, units of 15 to 25 square meters, designed and finished with a specificity of purpose that larger apartments almost never achieve. Every wall is a decision. Every surface carries a function. Storage is built into structural elements. Beds fold into walls. Fixtures are scaled precisely to the space, not adapted from standard sizes that assume more room. The micro apartment is the physical expression of a design principle. Constraint produces precision. When you cannot add square meters, you must account for every centimeter you have. The result is that a well-designed Japanese micro apartment often feels more functional than a Western apartment twice its size. The design concepts that emerge from extreme space constraint, multifunction furniture, vertical storage, modular organization are among the most transferable ideas in contemporary residential design. Japan produces them out of necessity. The rest of the world borrows them because they work regardless of floor area. 59. IPS cells. Reprogramming the biological clock. In 2006, Shinya Yamanaka at Kyoto University announced something that immediately caused the entire field of biology to stop and reread the paper. He had taken ordinary adult skin cells, fully developed, fully specialized, no longer capable of becoming anything other than what they were, and reversed them. By introducing 4 specific genes, he had reprogrammed them back into a pluripotent state, a state where they could become any type of cell in the human body. These are called induced pluripotent stem cells, or IPS cells. Yamanaka received the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2012. His IPS Cell Research Institute at Kyoto University now employs hundreds of researchers and is generating clinical treatments that didn't exist as concepts 20 years ago. 60. Heated roads that melt their own snow. In Niigata Prefecture, one of the snowiest inhabited regions on Earth, roads do not need plowing or salting. They melt their own snow, well above freezing. When it circulates through pipes beneath the asphalt, the surface stays just warm enough that falling snow melts on contact. No fleet of plow vehicles, no road salt corroding infrastructure and contaminating waterways, no overnight crews. The road manages winter itself, passively, using water already beneath the ground. Japan looked at one of cold climate infrastructure's most disruptive seasonal problems and found the solution sitting directly under the ground. It needed only pipes to get there. 61. Mimikaki, Japan's professional ear cleaning parlors. In Japan, there are businesses whose entire service is ear cleaning. You arrive, recline on a treatment bench, rest your head on the practitioner's lap, and have your ears professionally cleaned over a 20 to 40 minute session using specialized tool. This is not a medical procedure. It is a relaxation and grooming service. The practitioner is trained in technique that has centuries of history in Japanese domestic culture as an intimate act of care. Parents cleaning children's ears, partners caring for each other. The commercial parlor formalizes that intimacy as a wellness transaction. The Mimikaki parlor operates in the same cultural register as a high-end nail salon or a traditional barber. It addresses a personal care need that most industries in Japan made it a bookable appointment. Clients come back regularly. The experience is, by consistent account, deeply calming in a way that resists description until you've had it. 62. Platform screen doors. The wall that made train. Platform safe. In most metro systems around the world, the platform edge is an unguarded drop to live electrified rails. A stumble, an accidental push, or a moment of inattention is all that separates a passenger from a potentially fatal fall. Painted lines mark safe distances. Announcements warn accidents still occur. The platform screen door eliminates an entire category of incident: accidental falls, dropped items onto live rails, and the distress of preventable accidents in high-traffic public spaces. As an additional function, enclosed stations can now be climate-controlled, since the platform is sealed from the tunnel. Safety and environmental control from a single infrastructure decision. Japan built it into its newer transit systems as standard. Other cities are adding it through expensive retrofits. The gap between the platform and the track should always have been a door. 63. The bulletproof fiber thinner than a human hair. Xylon, Toyobo Company, a Japanese textile company, developed Xylon, formerly polyp-phenylene 2,6-benzobisoxazole, or PBO fiber, which has a tensile strength roughly 1.6 times greater than Kevlar, and a stiffness comparison that puts it among the strongest human-made fibers on Earth. A single thread of Xylon, thinner than a human hair, can bear a load that would seem impossible given its diameter. The material is used in body armor, aerospace components, motorsport safety equipment, the tethers of deep-sea research equipment, and the cords of suspension bridges. Japan developed a near-indestructible fiber, and its applications run from bulletproof vests to concert hall acoustics. The same material protecting people from bullets is woven into the frames of sport equipment for people who are not being shot at. 64. Luggage forwarding. The country where you never carry your own bags. Japan operates a nationwide luggage forwarding network called Takyuben, typically under $15 per bag. Your luggage arrives at your next hotel before you do, sometimes the same day, reliably by the following morning, primarily Yamato Transport, whose yellow cat logo has become as familiar in Japan as a postal symbol. What Takyuben does for travel in Japan is remove the physical burden of luggage from the experience entirely. Your belongings are waiting when you arrive. Japan solved the fundamental friction of multi-destination travel, the bag you carry everywhere, not by making it smaller or lighter, but by removing the requirement to carry it at all. 65. Cleanliness standard municipal garbage trucks. Garbage trucks in Japan play a cheerful melody as they approach, a signal for residents to bring their bags out in time. The trucks are immaculate. Staff wear clean uniforms. Collection points have fine mesh nets placed over them to prevent birds from scattering waste. Residents are required to sort garbage into up to 10 categories, depending on the municipality: burnable, non-burnable, glass, cans, plastic, cardboard, hazardous, large items, and more. The system requires effort from residents. The system also works. Japan's recycling rates are among the highest in the developed world. The cleanliness of Japanese streets is not an accident. It is the downstream result of a waste management infrastructure that is taken as seriously as any other public service. Garbage collection in Japan is not invisible. It is a civic institution. '66. Lotion-infused, moisturizing tissues. When you have a cold and you're blowing your nose every few minutes all day, regular tissues turn the skin beneath your nose raw and red by noon. Japan's lotion tissues are pre-infused with moisturizer and are standard in every pharmacy, convenience store, and supermarket. They feel genuinely soft on contact. They don't leave residue. They don't shred. This product exists because someone at a Japanese tissue company noticed that sick people already feel terrible and decided that the thing they use most during their worst days should not make things worse. That is the entire philosophy compressed into one product. Find the moment someone is uncomfortable and remove one unnecessary layer of discomfort. Japan does this constantly across every category, and this tissue is one of the clearest examples. 67. Ventilated indoor smoking rooms. Engineering around a conflict. The standard policy debate around indoor smoking arrives at two positions: permit it or prohibit it. Japan, which has both a historically high smoking rate and a hospitality culture where outright prohibition in some contexts is socially complex, engineered a third option: designated indoor smoking rooms, installed in airports, office buildings, shopping centers, and transit facilities, are sealed, negatively pressured environments with high-capacity air filtration. The rooms do not represent a compromise in the sense of satisfying neither party. They satisfy both parties functionally. The engineering absorbs the conflict between two incompatible preferences and makes them spatially compatible. Japan applies this principle consistently, that two apparently opposing needs can both be met if the engineering is sufficient to problems other cultures resolve simply by choosing one side and accepting the resentment. 68. Floor-level baggage scales. Standard airport check-in produces a consistent pressure point. You reach the desk, heave your bag onto the scale, the information arrives at the worst possible moment in the least accommodating possible space. Japanese airports and hotel check-in services install floor-level scales in baggage zones, hotel lobbies, and pre-check-in areas. The scale sits flush with the floor. You roll your bag directly onto it without lifting. The weight displays. You know, before you reach the desk, before the queue, before the pressure, whether you have a problem, and you have space and time to solve it. The floor-level scale changes when you receive information, not what the information is. Receiving it earlier changes everything about how you respond. Japan thinks carefully about where in a process information is most useful and engineers the delivery point around that rather than around operational convenience. 69. Rapidus. Building the chip that doesn't exist yet. Rapidus is a Japanese semiconductor company backed by the government and major corporations, including Toyota, Sony, and NTT, with one specific mandate: manufacture 2-nanometer microchips, the most advanced semiconductor node currently in development anywhere on Earth, domestically in Japan. 2-nanometer chips don't exist in commercial production anywhere yet. TSMC in Taiwan is working on it, Samsung in South Korea is working on it, and now Rapidus in Hokkaido is working on it at a brand new fabrication facility that began testing operations in April 2025. The chips are intended for AI computing, autonomous vehicles, and next-generation communications. The node is so small that the transistors on the chip are measured in atoms. Manufacturing them requires tolerances that push against the physical limits of what matter allows. Japan lost its semiconductor dominance in the 1990s. Rapidus is the explicit, government-backed attempt to reclaim a position at the frontier of the technology that everything else runs on. They are not trying to catch up. They are trying to build what doesn't exist yet, alongside everyone else, trying to do the same thing.